This is CBC Here and Now.
It's like the weight of the world was off my shoulders.
After 27 years, a man from this province is finally feeling like a free man. He's been proven innocent in the death of his 17-month-old stepson.
Get this. Icebergs off the coast of Newfoundland and Labrador are stopping tourists from arriving in Corner Brook. I'll explain what's going on with the cruise ships.
Passing the torch, that's what the leaders of this pack are going to be doing in Berlin at the Special Olympics. I have more on that coming up.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Well, there were welcomed words on the Burin Peninsula today. After months of uncertainty, hiring is supposed to begin in the coming weeks and production is scheduled to resume this fall as the troubled fluorspar mine in St. Lawrence has a new owner. And that owner has big plans. Here and Now's Terry Roberts reports.
It was all smiles and handshakes today at the town hall in St. Lawrence. And all eyes were on this man, a lawyer from South Africa, deeply connected in the mining industry, and now the man hoping to transform the insolvent fluorspar mine in St. Lawrence into a success story where others have failed. And he comes with a lot of confidence.
I've got one of the highest hit rates in the industry. Hit rates mean successful taking on a project and take it through to success.
A Singapore-based private equity firm called Ahmed Funds has purchased the mine for $25 million. The deal was approved last week by the courts, and it became official today. Ahmed Funds has assets worth more than $1.4 billion under management, including a fluorspar mine in South Africa. So it sees St. Lawrence as the perfect fit for its portfolio.
Well, we have actually succeeded with a very similar operation, and it's in production and making good profits in South Africa. Very similar geology, very similar operation, so it's almost impossible not to make it work.
The new owners plan to start hiring in the coming weeks and hope to resume fluorspar production by November. That's welcome news to local leaders.
As MHA, I'm so pleased that we're going to be able to bring people back home that have gone away to work in various parts of this province and the rest of Canada. And we're so glad that we're able now to say, guys, look, and girls, you can come home. And the mine is going to be operational.
I think our town's on a high right now. We had some cautious optimism, and I think it's turned to optimism that we've got a new buyer. And from what we've heard today, everything Mr. De Bruin said today was very positive in the outlook of what we expect here.
The mine site has been quiet for months, closed in February 2022 after the former owners ran out of cash. A bankruptcy trustee carried out an extensive search for a new owner, and that process is now complete, with the new owners hoping to operate the mine for 2 decades, possibly longer.
The geology is world class. It's a high grade, and we believe that we will consistently be able to produce what is acid spar, 97% concentration. And that is very critical because that is the part of the product that commands the higher price in the market.
But the news is not so great for creditors. More than $140 million is owing, including nearly $20 million to the provincial government.
The difficult part is that there are many, including the province, including unsecured creditors, including a finance company, that are out money. There is no doubt.
The provincial government spent nearly $4 million to help with the sales process and protect the site. That money will be recovered from the sale proceeds. But the province is giving that money back to the new owners to help fund a critical water treatment plan for the mine.
So we had 2 choices here. Do you continue on with a sales process where we get a new purchaser that's going to come in, work with the people of this area to have a continuing mine and continual positive income and benefit, or do you have the same loss and nothing going on here? It was an easy choice to make.
The new owners say they already have buyers lined up for their fluorspar. The only challenge now is to get this place up and running again. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. Lawrence.
And speaking of mines, trains have started moving iron ore again in western Labrador after fires damaged the railroad in Quebec. The trains are operating at a reduced rate. A passenger train left Sept-Îles this morning. The mine at IOC will remain idled as it enters a regular maintenance period that will last until June 20th. Well, 27 years ago, Bernie Doyle served 4 years in prison for causing the death of his partner's baby son. Now, the Ontario Court of Appeal has found that Doyle was wrongly convicted. Now, this case is the latest to be overturned based on faulty pediatric autopsies by discredited pathologist Charles Smith. An inquiry in 2008 revealed how Smith's errors sent people to prison for crimes they did not commit. As Chris O'Neill Yates tells us, Bernie Doyle says he's relieved to finally be proven innocent.
Bernie Doyle recounts what it finally felt like to hear a judge acquit him of his manslaughter conviction.
It was like the weight of the world was off my shoulders. I was a lot lighter.
Doyle is from Belle Isle, Newfoundland, and was living in Ontario in 1996 working as a roofer. He was holding his 17-month-old stepson and dancing with him when he tragically tripped over his roofing tools that were sitting on the floor. They both fell and the baby died from injuries sustained in that fall. Former pathologist Charles Smith and a colleague did the autopsy that got Doyle convicted of manslaughter, according to his lawyer.
He's always felt responsible for Tyler's death. To then be found guilty by a court of law on the basis of a theory that he shook and smashed the child's head against a wall or furniture or even with his hand was mind-destroying.
A 2008 inquiry reported that Smith's errors led to 13 people being wrongly convicted, including Doyle. Jerome Kennedy is a lawyer from Newfoundland who also worked on Doyle's case.
This man has lived for 27 years with the stigma of being a baby killer. And although the Court of Appeal or no court can give him back the lost years, what they've done today, I think, is they've restored a little bit of that dignity and respect he deserves, and he can walk with his head held high.
Doyle came to Toronto for the hearing and is returning to Newfoundland, finally feeling like a free man.
Yeah, I can't wait to go home to hold my children and my mom.
And to thank them for never ever having doubted his innocence. Chris O'Neill Yates, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, the Serious Incident Response Team says it has been unable to contact the family of a man killed after a police shooting yesterday. Little information has been released on the incident that happened at Regatta Plaza in St. John's yesterday morning. CERT Director Mike King says he's not prepared to release any information on the deceased until his family is located. Meanwhile, King says his small team of investigators is handling the case with the help of the RCMP's forensics unit. A police officer was reportedly injured in the incident and was later released from hospital. Well, the province is taking a second crack at a review of fertility services. The health department has put out a request for proposals for a third party to provide recommendations. The premier pledged to set up a clinic for in vitro fertilization while campaigning in 2021, but since then, the province has been offering a subsidy for women to go out of province for treatment. An RFP was issued late last year to look at expanding services, but the health department only received one proposal. Now it's issued that RFP again with the hope of getting more interest.
The RFP was probably too short a time frame for, a comprehensive submission by other individuals maybe, or other companies. So we reissued the RFP. We better worded the RFP. We provided a longer time frame for companies or interested parties to be able to reply and submit a submission.
Well, tourists usually love to see icebergs off the shores of Newfoundland and Labrador, but for cruise ships, icebergs can be nothing but a nuisance. Corner Brook is seeing a big delay in scheduled visits, with 4 cancellations already this season. Here and Now's Colleen Connors explains how those bergy bits are to blame.
This is the prime location to watch cruise ships come into the port of Corner Brook. But for the fourth time, the port of call has been canceled again today. And that's all because of the drift ice limit off the coast of Newfoundland and Labrador. So what is a drift ice limit?
Essentially, this is a limit that's based on the amount of ice and growlers and just the water type that's around Newfoundland and Labrador at the moment.
The Canadian Ice Service provides detailed and timely maps indicating the ice conditions in the Gulf of St. Lawrence and how south it travels. Vessels like the Regent Seven Seas Navigator use extreme caution during iceberg season because of waters that look like this. Typically, ships will stay 30 to 60 nautical miles south of the iceberg limit. The Navigator is not an expedition-type vessel.
When you look at the way a ship is built, it really depends on the quality of the hull. So some ships are specifically built to navigate icy waters, and of course some ships are not.
There is always a risk that weather can play a factor this early in the cruise ship season, but the port never turns away a cruise call. 4 missed cruise ship visits has a big effect on the tourism market, especially for bus operators, cab companies, and local vendors.
When we see a call cancel, we quickly try to communicate that cancellation as quick as possible because I know people have done lots of things to prepare for that visit.
The Regent Seven Seas Navigator that can hold 496 passengers will keep trying to dock in Corner Brook on its tour through New England and the east coast of Canada. Hartley says that her fingers are crossed for another port of call scheduled for June 30th. And this is shaping up to be the busiest cruise ship season for Corner Brook, with almost 30 ships coming in and almost 42,000 tourists expected. Colleen Connor, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, that line that Colleen is talking about is this pink one here. That's actually the iceberg that I was trying to find when I was up with the Ice Patrol earlier in the season, but still lots of icebergs, as you can see out there. It's some nice weather to enjoy it as well. It's weird that we're talking about icebergs when the temperature is about 20 degrees, 22 in Corner Brook today, 23 in Stephenville, and then a very different story though along the northeast coast. 4 degrees in Bonavista, 7 in St. John's, and that temperature now 26 degrees in Lab City. That's the warm spot today. We take a look at where we sat overnight last night though. We were at 3 degrees in Lab City, so quite the change in temperatures, and temperatures were between 3 and about 5 or 6 degrees last night. But there is still a frost advisory in place. Northern Peninsula through to Deer Lake, all the way across to Clarenville, including the Canagra Peninsula as well as the Burin Peninsula. And we're looking at, the potential for frost. The last frost dates are typically around June 1st to the 10th in this pink here. The darker pink is about June 11th to the 20th. So not out of the realm of possibility, that's for sure. But yes, those cool temperatures sticking around. We'll talk all about it when I come back.
Well, is all of this cold, dreary weather on the northeast coast getting you down? Coming up, we'll speak with clinical psychologist Janine Hubbard to get some tips on how to brighten your day. 4 athletes will represent Newfoundland and Labrador at the Special Olympics in Berlin starting on Saturday. We brought you that story last week, but tomorrow 2 more people from this province will make their big appearance at the torch run for the Games. Here now's Henrika Wilhelm has that story.
It's a huge event. It's exciting for everyone. It's, for us to be going there and represent Newfoundland and Labrador, to me, that's one of my biggest accomplishments so far.
This was 2 years ago. Excitement for the upcoming torch run ahead of the Special Olympics in Russia. But those games were cancelled and their dreams crushed.
I was pretty sad. I was crying and everything, and I didn't know what to do, and I guess I had to start from scratch again, working my way back up.
Now, different World Games, different country, and a second chance for these 2.
We had to do the whole process over again. So I applied, and with that, Andrew got nominated again, and of course 2 of us got selected once again.
She was at my hockey practice, and she came down the stairs, and she told me that you have a chance to go to Berlin, would you like to go? And I said, oh yeah. And then I just went nuts. I went and hugged her, and I went and hugged my mother, I hugged everybody. It was a very nice moment for me.
A Special Olympian of 25 years, Heinz never competed at World Games himself.
I always wanted to go as an athlete, but I didn't get a chance, so this is a good opportunity for me to show them what I'm capable of doing.
Now, he is one of only 10 athletes from around the world in the torch run, the only one from Canada. And they'll be joined by 100 officers, like Wells.
So it's a pretty big honor for two of us to be going there, representing Newfoundland, representing Canada, and representing the Law Enforcement Torch Run and Special Olympics for NL.
The two led the Law Enforcement Torch Run in Paradise on Friday and then flew to Berlin on Sunday to prepare for the run.
We have 5 days of running, probably about 10 kilometers per day. So we'll be doing a lot of running. Hopefully we'll get to see all the corners of Berlin.
Go Newfoundland, go Canada, go.
And while this was one last practice run, tomorrow it'll be the real deal when they're carrying the torch in Berlin to light the Olympic flame. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, Paradise.
Well, the not-for-profit group that runs twin rinks in Mount Pearl is adding another ice surface. The Avalon Arena Association aims to get young people on the ice, with ice time being a hot commodity these days. In the old Action building in the east end of St. John's, the new ice surface is just a little bit smaller than normal to help out younger skaters. Today, they showed off the work they've done so far.
It's not different, it's needed. Ice time is at a premium, especially on the Northeast Avalon. The demand is skyrocketing. It's different, it's custom sized. Young kids play basketball on smaller nets. They play baseball on smaller fields. Hockey does not have the equivalent of that. So that was our vision, was making something a bit more custom sized, smaller for the younger athletes to use. So the building is fully accessible, it's wheelchair accessible, elevator access. The ice surface, there'll be access on and off the ice via wheelchair ramps. The ice surface leading on and off the rink will be flush, so anyone with disabilities can get on and off to the benches. The benches are going to be changed out to clear glass, so for sledge and other multi-sport uses.
When we learned about Avalon Arena Association as a not-for-profit, with their, one of their main goals to keep ice time affordable for, kids in Newfoundland and Labrador, and especially in this area. That was one of probably the biggest drivers for our decision, because, that is, of course, a goal for us as well, to make it accessible for all ability types and all income levels. So when the Avalon Arena Association approached us with this opportunity, it seemed like an absolute ideal fit for us, and a way for us to, again, further support the community, access to sports, and help give back.
It's a real good sense of achievement, because like I said, the association, which is our volunteer board, we've been at this, the association's been around since 1974, operating twin rinks since 1974, and they had a vision for the last number of years to expand, and now it feels really good to see it come to fruition.
We're excited to see families, excited to see kids kind of come in, and just, how we're impressed with it. I think that's also going to be absolutely, the way families feel when they walk in, just to be able to have a new option for a rink and also a public, sport facility in this part of town, I think is certainly needed for this age group.
On staying with sports news, the season has come to an end for the Newfoundland Rogues. After 45 games and an impressive run to the conference finals, the team lost last night in Albany, New York, knocking the team out of the playoffs. It's the first complete season for the Rogues, who had their inaugural season cut short due to COVID-19. The Rogues are currently making their way back to this province to pack up their lockers. Then players will head off to play in new locations this summer.
Well, it's been an absolutely beautiful day for most of the province today. Hanging on to some of that cloud cover, though, further east. I'll tell you what to expect when we get back.
Oh, the weather. If you live on the northeast coast, this has been a consistently gray, cold, misty, dreary spring. And if you feel like the weather is weighing you down, you are not alone. Joining me now is clinical psychologist Janine Hubbard. So I know I've been hearing a lot of people talking about how the weather is kind of bringing you down. What kinds of things are you hearing in your practice?
You are not alone. I've termed it the January blues. We know that the winter blues are a legitimate thing. I think here in Newfoundland and Labrador, June hits because there's really two reasons, both physical and psychological. We know that when we have a lack of sunlight, when we don't have that vitamin D exposure, that actually it affects a couple of the hormones in our brain, serotonin and melatonin, which are responsible for regulating our mood and our sleep. So we actually have our brains feeling down. And we've also got a little bit of fear of missing out. You look at other places in the country, you think about, the lovely flowers that are coming up, those warm temperatures, and what we're missing out on right now, all the things that you want to be doing, all the sports activities that are canceled because the fields just aren't appropriate. So that double whammy is definitely getting people down.
Yeah, and it's not just the rest of the country either, it's the rest of the province, because this has really been a northeast coast kind of summer so far. So we talk about seasonal affective disorder, like in the winter time when the days are shorter. Is this a similar thing to that?
There certainly are some similarities. As I say, the lack of exposure to sunlight really can affect our mood. And so one of the things that we want to do is, as much as possible, if there are those brief glimmers of sunshine, get out, just even if it's for 10 minutes. Maybe look at your vitamin D consumption. Always check with your pharmacist. And it may be time, if you've got one of the light therapy lamps, it's time to bring it out again. I actually use mine more this time of year than I do in the winter time. And just fighting the resistance to want to stay home, stay indoors, get out even if it's dreary. The dog's going to force you to get out a little bit. As much as you can, keep moving and fighting the inactivity.
Yeah. How are you feeling? Because I know you're an upbeat person. How are you finding this spring?
I'm okay until I get about 10 days of this. And then you know what? I really start to feel the effects as well. And it really does feel discouraging because we keep thinking, is it ever going to end? And we know it will. And I also try to remind myself that this is the weather that brings the capelin, and that's the weather that brings the whales, and that's exciting. So, if you can have somewhat of a perspective on it, maybe it gives you more time to grow your seedlings indoors before putting them outside, or longer to plan your garden. Whatever perspective you can take. And then it's also okay to grumble and, complain to your colleagues and your family, because let's face it, that is a shared activity.
Yes, you gotta vent.
Absolutely.
Well, I love your optimism. Janine Hubbard, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So is this an unusually chilly spring? It sounds like a question for Ashley. So Ashley, how does this year compare to past springs?
Well, I did a little digging. So here's a brief history of June. So typically between 1981 anyway and 2010, we would see about 5 days in the single digits in June. We'd see 7 days in the 20-degree mark, and the average high would be sitting somewhere between around 15.8. Now, we're still waiting for that elusive 20-degree temperature, but in 2019, we had to wait till June 22nd to see that temperature, and then the latest was actually July 4th, back in the 1940s. So just take a look at here. So June 2012, we saw 5 days in the 20-degree range, 13.9 was the average temperature, so below seasonal. We went on to one of the warmest summers we've actually seen. And then as far as last year goes, now, that's what most of us are remembering because last year was absolutely beautiful. 14 degrees, we reached 14 days, I should say, we reached 20 degrees. The average temperature was 18, and only 5 of those days were we sitting in the single digits. So far this year, we've averaged 10.5, haven't hit that 20-degree mark, and we've seen 7 days in the single digits. Now, taking a look at the long-range forecast. Now you can take this with a grain of salt. This is Environment Canada's temperature forecast for June, July, and August, but it's already starting off the way it shows here. Look at that, eastern Newfoundland near or below seasonal for those months, but the rest of the province will likely be above zero. So hopefully something changes with that forecast, but at this point, that is what it's looking like. So the reason why we're seeing these cool temperatures and cloud cover is thanks to an area of low pressure offshore. It's been affecting us since Friday. At this point, it's taking its time to move off, but the good news is tomorrow we will eventually say goodbye to that. But you can see that cloud cover still lingering. I did think we were going to clear out before sunset, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen, especially across the Avalon. As you can see, that cloud cover still very much in place. Also, some showers out there as well, some relatively light showers, but you can see the live shot out there, airports reporting them as well. So only sitting around 6 degrees at the moment. Those winds out of the north gusting near 31 kilometers per hour, and the visibility is down to about 1 kilometer at the moment, but still an absolutely beautiful day out there. Still a beautiful evening out there in Badger, 18, 22 in Deer Lake. Same thing for Stephenville. And then Labrador. Haven't quite reached that 27 degrees yet in Lab City, but you're sitting at 26 at the moment, and 15 for Happy Valley Goose Bay. Head towards the coast, so again, those temperatures are much cooler. So we're looking at some fog patches developing as we head through the overnight tonight, particularly along the northeast coast, Avalon, and coastal areas of Labrador. And that will generally continue as, or should I say, retreat back to towards the coast by the time we get into Wednesday afternoon. Now, as far as tonight is concerned, generally looking at clearing skies. We may see some lingering cloud cover towards the northeast coast, Bonavista North area, and then again some drizzle and fog possible. But overall, clear skies tonight, and that is going to lead to some cooler temperatures as well. So we're hovering around 1 to about 5 degrees. Low-lying areas, though, likely going to dip a little lower than that, and that means there's a frost advisory in place. Northern Peninsula, Deer Lake, all the way through central to Clarenville and the Canagra Peninsula, as well as the Burin Peninsula. You are looking at that as well. Labrador, Lab City, only going down to 13 tonight. Now, as far as tomorrow is concerned, setting the stage for a really lovely day. Temperatures will likely be cool towards the coast. So I have 17 degrees in there for St. John's. I do think that inland areas will see those temperatures. If you are towards the coast, the temperatures will be a lot cooler. Plenty of 20-degree temperatures, though, as you head towards central west coast and up across Labrador as well. It should be an absolutely beautiful day in Happy Valley Goose Bay at 26 degrees, although we're looking at the risk of some thunderstorms. That will be the story for Lab West and central Labrador as well. So it's been beautiful. Many parts of Labrador are enjoying the sun and the heat. And here now, Sterlton spoke with some folks in Lab City about the weather and asked if they have any sympathy for those on the island.
Hello from Labrador City. Content warning to everyone in and around St. John's. This bright orb you're seeing is the sun. What's been the best part about today?
My mom came to pick me up so I could go in the splash pads.
Oh, that's nice. Now, a lot of people in St. John's, it's really cold and rainy. Do you have any tips for them on how to stay warm?
They could go in their house, and I would just hope the best of luck for them.
And what's the best part of being out here today?
It's sunny.
Now, a lot of people in St. John's, it's cold and rainy. Do you feel bad for them? What do you think they should do to warm up?
Go inside their house and relax.
And what's the best thing about the splash pad?
Water that comes out of the ground. Like
Oh, that one. Okay, yeah. St. John's is pretty cold. Any tips for them on how to stay warm?
Let me think. Hope for the best.
Hope for the best. Are you enjoying the weather?
Yeah, it is. It's 2 days consecutive, good weather.
And everyone in St. John's, it's been very cold and cloudy for the last few days. Do you feel for them?
I feel sorry for them. Actually, my sister's living there too, and I know that the weather's
not that good. Compare here. Having fun at the beach today?
Yeah, I am.
And what's the best part of being in the warm weather?
Being in the water, and I'm detecting it because I know water guard.
It's been beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah.
It's finally a nice change for once.
Yeah, and no flies today. So
Well, that's it. We're enjoying it until, because we know the flies are coming. It's the when. It's the when. And what have you been doing with the good weather?
well, we have 4 kids, so we've been trying to get them outside.
Yeah,
as much as we
trampoline,
can.
walking,
Yeah.
water fights, you know,
Yeah.
all that.
Everyone needs to come to Labrador for the beautiful weather. Keep it on.
I'm sending you my warmest, get it, regards. For CBC News, I'm Daryl Din in Labrador City.
Goodness.
That's amazing.
I can't even fathom going to the beach right now with the weather we've been having.
Nope.
I love that advice with the child earlier. Just go indoors and best of luck to you.
Best of luck. That seems to be the answer, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's all great.
absolutely.
That's so
Well,
lovely.
we know it can be tough for some of us to keep the spirits up through this January, so we'd love for you to send us a photo of how you're coping.
Yeah, you can email hereandnow.nl@cbc.ca. We have a CBC toque, a mug, and a nice warm sweater that we'll send out to one winner.
Yeah, and you can put some hot chocolate in that mug. And you can also show us your January fashions if you like. I'd love to see what people have been wearing when you head out the door. I know I pulled out my parka yesterday.
I still can't believe you wore that yesterday.
I know, my goodness. So please send us a pic of how you're coping with January, and you could win a CBC prize pack. Well, now back to our top story. The fluorspar mine in St. Lawrence has a new owner. A private company, Ahmed Funds, based in Singapore, purchased the mine for $25 million. Well, today, Here and Now's Terry Roberts spoke with the company's founder about his plans for the future.
Mr. De Bruin, the previous company invested $283 million here and couldn't make this work. What makes you think that you can succeed where others have failed?
Well, we have actually succeeded with a very similar operation, and it's in production and making good profits in South Africa. Very similar geology, very similar operation, so it's almost impossible not to make it work.
Okay, so what's your first priority then as you get started here?
Well, we're going to go into a phase of preparations. We can't just walk in tomorrow and start mining. It's not ready, so we'll have to fix a lot of things. The pits have to be rebalanced, the plant has to be fixed, and of course people have to be trained, so we need a good workforce, and it's going to take a few months.
Do you have a budget in mind of what it's going to cost you and your partners to get this mine up and running again?
We've got a rough budget, but it's in the tens of millions of dollars. But I don't want to give you an exact figure. As we go along, we'll see how much is needed.
What have you seen here that's caught your attention? What is it you like about this deposit here and the assets that are here?
The main thing is the geology. The geology is world class. It's a high grade, and we believe that we will consistently be able to produce what is acid spar, 97% concentration. And that is very critical because that is the part of the product that commands the higher price in the market. And this deposit lends itself to producing acid grade.
Acid grade fluorspar. So when, I'm sure everybody wants to know, when can they start tapping on you? You have the keys to this place now, I understand. So when can people start tapping on your door and say, look, I'm here, I can work for you?
In the next few weeks. We'll make announcements as we progress. And they will probably, we'll appoint a person. I'm not going to stand at the door myself, but there will be someone ready to see and explain and disseminate information.
Well, in other news, he's found inspiration in Newfoundland and Labrador, and now he's being recognized as the best in the country. Udanta Chandra-Ratne represented this province at the Skills Canada National Competition in Winnipeg and won the top prize in photography. CBC's Sakib Ibn Rashid Rivu has more.
Gold, Udanta Chandra-Ratne, Newfoundland and Labrador.
A proud moment on the National Skills Canada stage. It was a long journey for Udanta Chandra-Ratne to get to that stage. It started by winning the Provincial Skills Canada competition in photography. Then last month, he competed against other provinces to show off his photography skills, completing challenges like photographing wildlife, a mystery box, a model, and even covering a theme. Photography is just one of the dozens of competitions in Skills Canada, bringing together 550 of the best students in technology and other skilled trades.
I feel like it's like a community effort for me to hoist me up and win the medal.
Chandra-Ratne is originally from Sri Lanka. He moved to St. John's to study geography at MUN 4 years ago. Now, he calls it home.
All right, I feel like I'm part of the community. That's something that I haven't felt before in the other places I've been, and that really made me compete harder to win.
From the Newfoundland Rogues basketball games to the Atlantic Swimming Championships or year-round MUN Seahawk matches, Chandra-Ratne's camera has seen it all.
Perfect.
His interest in photography started as a kid, after setting his eyes on his father's old film camera. He was also the president of his school's photography club, and his passion took off from there.
When I pick up a camera, I feel like it's a part of me.
Yet, Chandra-Ratne says it would be impossible for him to focus on the competition while maintaining a grade grades in his final semester without the help of his friends. They have supported him emotionally and also helped him on his photo shoots. He thinks another one of the keys to his success is his approach.
I don't want to create just a snap. I want to create emotion in my pictures. I try to capture something that cannot be like seen by the naked eye sometimes, because there are things that's happening so fast you can't see.
His latest interest, mixing nature and portraiture, like the elements water and fire, and sometimes, if he's lucky, a reporter in the wild.
3, 2, 1, perfect.
Sakib Ibn Rashid Rimu, CBC News, Bichiko.
Students on the Northern Peninsula are getting a unique musical experience. They're learning percussion using no instruments. They're called the Beat Freaks. Leila Baudouin reports.
Meet the Beat Freaks.
I really love listening to them. I really enjoy it.
To the students, she's Miss Jennifer. Jennifer Lowe, their coach, who dances to the beats her students drop. Every week they meet here in the library, and they're not very quiet about it.
When I first started, I didn't think it would turn out good, but look at me now.
It's enjoyment, it's excitement, and the rewarding feeling of doing something with the kids and them loving it so much.
Making music with their mouths, this lunchtime session became a thing after Miss Jennifer overheard a couple students freestyling.
I heard them making their own sounds. I thought it was so cool. It was Lance and Ryder.
You want to try to make like noises with your mouth, and you like put your like lips together. Like say some noises like T, you can put it in like try to put it on your lips like T.
You can also use your throat, doing like a throat beat. So like that's a throat beat.
And I said, like, I think what you're doing is awesome. Do you want to get together and do this, like outside of, you know, being in class and doing it? And they said yes, and it's taken off from there. So.
I'm really thankful because when I get older, I could be on stage beatboxing and stuff, all because of her.
When I was their age and growing up and trying to beatbox, I was always told to be quiet and whatnot, right?
And we're gonna play it like a hands up.
The Beat Freaks got noticed. Beatbox professional Caden White, known as K-Dubs, grew up on the west coast of Newfoundland. Now he competes in beatbox competitions around the world. He paid the Beat Freaks a visit to help them work on their own self-expression.
That's what I see in these kids, is that they're expressing themselves, and they might not know that yet, but that's what they're doing.
Working with the Beat Freaks kids connects Jennifer Lowe to her start in music. They are using vocal percussion. She started with a drum.
Music is how I'm learning about myself. Like in my late teens, I heard the big drum for the first time. It strikes so many people because it is the first sound that we hear when we're inside of our moms. And I heard it and I'm like, oh man, like I wanna, that's for me. So now I'm in a place where I'm creating my own songs.
Yes, that's love for you. Hey, oh, hey.
Back in the library, the beats go on.
When you're in here, you can have fun and stuff, and you're not always like trying to do work and not thinking about all stuff that you have to do.
This is all the different languages that is in this school.
Lowe, who also runs a powwow lunch and drumming with the kids, says each child has a voice, and this lets them be heard.
Such an amazing turnout for these groups. As you've seen there today, that was just a few.
Now I'm done.
And now the countdown begins to our next practice day.
Great job.
Breaking more barriers than one, the Beat Freaks aren't just learning, but teaching. Music is a subject that speaks to everyone. Layla Baudouin, CBC News.
In Ukraine, 11 people are dead and nearly 30 injured after a Russian missile attack destroyed an apartment building.
Just a short while ago, there were body bags beside the merry-go-round here in this playground.
It happened in the city of Kryvyi Rih. It's in central Ukraine and the hometown of the country's president. Other residential buildings were also hit. Over the last 16 months of this war, Russia has consistently denied targeting civilians. Well, Donald Trump pleaded not guilty today in a Miami courthouse to 37 federal charges tied to the alleged mishandling of classified documents. It marks the first time that a former U.S. president has been charged with federal crimes. Security was tight as supporters of the former U.S. president gathered near the courthouse. There were also some anti-Trump protesters on hand. Trump is accused of taking thousands of papers containing national security secrets and lying to officials who tried to get them back. Trump contends he did nothing wrong and says the charges are politically motivated. In spite of mounting legal troubles, Trump still leads the field of candidates vying for the 2024 Republican nomination for president. Well, the Ottawa Senators have a new owner, and a Canadian billionaire heads up the group with the winning bid. Toronto's Michael Andlauer leads a group that reportedly offered a record-setting price, close to $1 billion for the NHL team. The group includes several Ottawa businesses, and the daughters of the former owner, the late Eugene Melnyk, will keep 10%. The deal still needs to be approved by the NHL. Andlauer made his money in the pharmaceutical and healthcare industries. He's been involved in professional hockey before as part owner of the Montreal Canadiens and the Ontario Hockey League's Bulldogs. So looking at the long range forecast now, and I guess some advice for those of us in the east is probably just get out tomorrow if you can and enjoy yourself.
Well, I mean, really, the forecast over the next couple of days, although rain's going to move in, temperatures probably will be fairly mild, it looks like. So that's good news. Let's take a look at our Thursday forecast out there. So I have 15 degrees in for St. John's on Thursday. There'll likely be a bit more cloud cover than what we're going to see tomorrow, but I mean, at this point, that's a pretty good forecast as you head towards central. We're looking at some more cloudy periods, 17 degrees, so cooler, definitely, 18 in Grand Falls, Windsor, but this is around where we should be sitting for this time of year. So overall, not too bad. Some showers rolling through for Corner Brook, same thing for Port aux Basques. Now along the south coast, temperatures will be a tad cooler. St. Anthony should reach about 16 degrees on Thursday, and then temperatures dropping compared to what they have been anyway up across Labrador. So only about 14 degrees through the day on Thursday, and between 4 and 9 for coastal areas of Labrador. Now you are looking at showers through the day on Thursday as well. There's those showers even into the evening hours. Now as we head through to Friday, there's some white and pink showing up in northern portions of Labrador, and that means we could even see some flurries or wet snow for those of you in Nain as we head through into Friday evening, particularly. A generally gray day across the island, and again we're looking at that chance of showers as well through the afternoon hours. Now temperatures are going to be back down into the single digits for essentially the eastern half of the island. So about 8 degrees through the day, 10 to 13 as you head towards the west and south coast. Same thing for the northern peninsula. Along the strait, a tad cooler than that, about 7. And then generally between 10 and 13 degrees for the rest of the big land, although there's that temperature I was talking about, about 2 degrees for Nain as your daytime highs on Friday. And again, looking at the long range, you may even see some actual snow in the forecast. Long range forecast for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland, back down to about 10 degrees through the weekend. We may see a few peaks of sun on Saturday. Sunday looks rainy though, and a high near 10 degrees. And then for central Newfoundland, a few peaks of sun again possible for you on Saturday, dropping down to about 11 degrees for Sunday with some rain. And in western Newfoundland, a bit warmer than that, so 15 and 16 this weekend. Generally dry on Saturday, but that rain will move in for, on Sunday. And then for eastern Labrador, you're looking at teens as we end out the weekend. And then same thing for western Labrador, dry, but your temperatures between 13 and 15 degrees. Our photo of the day, a nice calm one. So the RDF has been the story really, but it cleared out a little bit in Roberts Arm there. That's last night's sunset. Thank you to Pansy Snow for that photo. And if you have any that you would like to share with us, so you can send them to Facebook, Twitter, or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, that is so beautiful, so peaceful looking.
It is lovely when the sun peeks out at night.
And don't forget to send us your January photos as well, how you're coping with this cold weather here in the east. That's it for us on this evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night.